Orochimaru, okay, I prepared something.
Because I can't remember anything because I'm old.
I'm beginning to like this village. I think I'll make it mine. Sometimes I throw up snakes. Satori Sensei, have you ever felt the joy and fulfillment of humiliating and destroying the once called Sensei? No, I suppose not. Perhaps vicariously through me, you'll get a hint of what I mean. Just a taste before you die.
One of the special features on the Kenshin DVDs called Outtakes, and the funniest I felt were the ones that you did as Shishio. Is that kind of common that you do a lot of just random off jokes?
I'm kind of known for leaving presents for people in studios. Most of them are R to X-rated, just as foul as I can possibly be, and they're usually I will do things like in Kenshin where I will actually match the lip flaps and create my whole story. It really wouldn't work with the original story. So I do that all the time. It's very rare that they'll actually take that and put it on DVD, so I'm kind of glad they did there. Yeah, a lot of us do that, and that's probably the most fun we ever have. Something like Gurren Lagann, for example, I could have done a whole other show with all the outtakes of that, because once I got into Leron, oh my god, the floodgates opened, and I just kind of let it fly, and it got wronger and wronger and wronger. And I'm surprised that they kept as much as they did, honestly. So, yeah, that's something a few of us really love to do, and we leave stuff for each other all over town.
Is there some of your favorites?
Well, I can't remember favorite lines because it's always ad-libbed, you know, it's right on the spot, but Crispin Freeman and I leave stuff for each other all the time. Nolan North leaves stuff. Nolan North drew a man's body part on my script the other day and left that for me. And it said Steve Hart, and he drew this piece of anatomy. So we do that for each other all the time. So there's a bunch of us that are guilty of it. It's so wrong and so right. Same thing, right?
Anime and video games. Out of any of them, which would you say is the most obscure one you've ever done?
Obscure role in anime.
Like the most obscure, the one that people don't seem to catch too often.
That's really hard to say. I think that probably would harken. Well, I do a lot of bit roles that people don't know about. Most recently in a lot of video games like Star Wars: The Old Republic. I did a ton of characters in that thing, and people, I actually got credited on IMDb as the bounty hunter for that. And I was playing a bounty hunter, but I wasn't the bounty hunter, and it kind of caused a problem for Tom Spackman, the guy who played that role. So there's a lot of really obscure characters that I played for that, and I don't even remember what they were, because they were just kind of going, okay, now do this. Okay, that was cool, now do this. And I'm, being Mr. Voice Monkey, I did it. And so I don't even remember what most of them are. Some of the ones I do remember would be, well, I actually worked on a thing called Stitch, the anime, which I don't think it's made it here yet. It's all over. Oh, really? Yeah. You can find it online, and I think it'll come here in DVD and Blu-ray form at some point. But I'm playing a female floating little character that's annoying Stitch all the time called Boo Boo. And it's just the most random little, it's this little pink puff that follows Stitch around, just goes, and there's no purpose for her being there. There's no purpose for my voicing that role, but it's still awesome. So, right now, that's what comes to mind. You've had your hand up for a while.
My question is two parts.
Yes.
If Spike ever met Orochimaru, what would they say to each other?
Wow.
Yes.
Spike would look at him and say, really? And then Orochimaru would throw up a snake and eat him. And then Spike would cut his way out. Shoot his way out. Yeah. How about you, Rick?
I've been told by a great many people for as long as I can remember that I should break into radio or voice acting or something. And I heard you talking in the Cowboy Bebop panel that you just kind of happened upon and came into that role, how would you recommend somebody getting into that? Is it possible to stay where I am here, or would I have to branch out to where those businesses are?
It depends on what you want to do in the voiceover world. If you want to do what I do, which is mostly animation and video games and some commercials, you kind of have to be where the work is. And Los Angeles really is the hub for that. If you want to do strictly commercial work, New York, I would say, is the place to be. Locally, you can do things. There are local commercial TV stations, there's radio stuff that's happening. If that's what you want to do, it depends on what you want out of your career. You can do it pretty much anywhere in the world. And if you get established enough, you can actually live anywhere you want and kind of do it from your home studio. There's a guy named Tom Kane, who is the voice of God in so many different things. He's amazing. He's Yoda right now currently, and Clone Wars and many, many other things. Beautiful, amazing voice, but he's been doing it for like 30 years. So everybody knows him, they know what he can do, they love him, they trust him that his studio is good enough so that he actually lives here in Kansas.
Okay.
And works in LA. He will commute for some things, but a lot of his stuff he does from his home studio.
Okay.
I would imagine in his PJs.
All right.
And rocking that book too. But yeah, you kind of have to be where the work is.
Okay. One other question. I am in the process of writing my own game now and looking for voice talent and things like that. For somebody with your breadth of experience and many interesting characters, what does someone of your caliber typically run, charge, or expect from a role?
Well, I'm a union actor, so for me, I go by union scale.
Okay.
So, which means that on a video game, for instance, union scale now is I think it's like $855 for a session.
Okay.
That could be all of the voices for that video game in that one session, and there are no residuals. You don't get paid again and again for that. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get double scale. No, it's $809, I think, is what it is for the after scale now, which is where most of the work is. For non-union stuff, though, non-union people will work for as little as $100 or $200 an hour. And in that hour, you try to cram in as many voices as you possibly can. So you can't expect to make a fortune. I mean, even though the $800 sounds like a lot of money, you have to understand that that may be the only time you ever work on that video game.
Yes.
And you have to book something like that often enough to pay your rent. So it's not like we get rich. Most voice actors are not wealthy people. We don't make the same kind of money as somebody. If you're going for an on-camera celebrity, some of the on-camera celebrities will come in for an hour and make $30,000 on the same show I'm making $800 on. So the scale's all over the place.
Okay.
So.
All right. Thank you very much.
Helpful to you at all? But
It was.
Okay. How about you back there with the glove?
What was it like voicing Tom
And
on
then you.
Tsunami?
What was it like voicing Tom in Tsunami?
Yeah.
Awesome. Tom was really cool because I worked in a studio in LA with the guys directing me in Atlanta. And so all of it was done by phone. It was crazy. We had this phone patch in the studio, and I met the guys before I did the job. I think I met them at Anime Expo in LA. They took me out for a beer. And that was kind of the last time I saw them for years. And we just basically worked over the phone. And I think I've seen them maybe 5 times in the whole time I was doing Tsunami. So I was sad that I didn't get to be in the room with them because they're really, really cool guys. But it was such an easy gig because I went to the studio, they told me what to say, and I just spit it right back out to them. In fact, like the video game reviews, I didn't even know what I was talking about most of the time. And those guys were at their games just feeding me information, so it was all accurate, but I didn't even know what I was doing. Okay, and you back behind, yes. Yes, that's why I was hired for that. Yeah, that was really fun. It was sort of like revisiting Spike, but not. And you know, I kind of, when I first saw the character, I actually wanted to take him a little bit differently, but it just, the way it was animated, it's a lot of the same people involved in that show. It had to be that way, and I think it played really well. She got it. Yeah. So I have to go with what they say, and we did stick pretty close to the original Japanese on that. That was one of those shows where I had to stick pretty close to the original Japanese. So I have to do what they tell me, and you know, I'm just a good boy, and I do what I'm told. Yes.
There's that scene where your character has remote control for the giant laserized dinosaur.
Oh yes.
Like how much crazy fun was you going with that? A little song and dance and happy.
Well, the funny thing is about Bulletstorm, like many video games, I don't see any visuals when I'm doing it. They just explain, okay, now you've got remote control Godzilla, go for it. And cuss as much as you can. Be as offensive as you possibly can, and go. And so, you know, they would give me a script, and I would ad-lib a lot on that game. And so I didn't even know what it was going to look like until it was completely done. And I've seen a little bit of the cinematics on YouTube, but I'm not a gamer, so I haven't even played the level or anything. But yeah, I mean, we're in a vacuum with video games. We really don't get the advantage of looking to see what's on screen like we do in anime. So I'm glad it worked out for you. All right, so I think we have the little treat ready. Should we do it? Okay, here goes. Here's a little bit of what I do for those of you who don't know.
Hero Louse, Roger Smith.
Loading like ever.
And makes him do it again once you close it. I leave it full screen and then leave it paused for a while.
Leave it paused. Okay, continuing on. When that happens. Okay, I see him way in the back in the white. That's you, yes. Where can I buy a phone? So easy on the throat, it feels good. How about you with the ears back here? I'll give this side. Oh, there's two. I'll do after. I didn't know. Sorry, Mom, look, you're sitting here. I cannot confirm or deny anything about Mass Effect 3 at this time. I'm sorry. I'm signed to a waiver. Sorry about that. No, I'm not allowed to talk about stuff that isn't out, whether I'm in it or not. Mass Effect 2 was awesome. It was really fun. Grunt was a really fun character, and the cast was so good on that. I didn't get to work in the same room with them, but we had a great director, Jeannie McSwain, who was so amazing with that character. She led me in some places that I wouldn't have thought of going, and it was one of the few roles where they actually pitched my voice deeper than it normally is. So, God, I went down in the basement here. It was kind of cool to see that once it was all put together.